Thank you. Good morning, and thank you for coming to the session this morning. It's lovely to see a really full room with people standing at the back. That's fantastic to see. So I'm going to just very quickly go through a couple of the projects that we're running at the moment, which in some ways is translating what Keith has just sort of told us about so eloquently in the potential of the registry tools that we've developed for facilitating research. For many years, we've all sat and looked at the JETAID people in France and Belgium and so on and wondered, well, why on earth are we not doing this type of stuff in the UK? We've got just as many patients, and we probably have a better healthcare system for doing this sort of work that they have done. So the first project I'd like to talk about is the Anaemia Service Evaluation Project. This has been a joint working initiative with Pharmacosmos, with really the objectives as stated here in terms of looking at a small group of patients. What's the prevalence of iron deficiency and iron deficiency anemia in this group? What treatment do they receive? What treatment perhaps should they have received, i.e. what we think their total iron deficit is, and a couple of other very sort of patient-reported outcome measures. It's never going to be a comprehensive study of iron deficiency in IBD, but I think this is a topic that is ripe for audit, and I hope that this project will actually inform future rounds of the audit moving forward. So the way that we're running this is going to be in 5 hospitals across the UK, a range of different centres, from the Ivory Towers of central London to less august and institutions, but equally no less committed and motivated. Each centre will put in 10 consecutive UC patients and 10 consecutive Crohn's disease patients. They'll enter the data at 2 different time points. That data is really going to be what you'd expect for this type of study. It's going to be the patient phenotype, what medication they're on, the quality of life, the disease activity, and then the blood tests that are taken as routine at the initiation of the study and a year later. The second project is an investigator-initiated study. Following on from the success of PANTS, we had to go for VEST. And this is... And so this is again, we were talking about real-life data. I think it's quite clear that we get information on efficacy about drugs from the big phase 3 registration studies, but what we really need for our patients is data on effectiveness of the treatment that we're giving our patients. And this really sets out to look at the experience of using vedolizumab in the UK. Hopefully this is going to be up and running in the very near future. It's going to be using a modified version of the web tool. So what that is saying is, in fact, that any centre in the UK who is interested can actually take part in this study. We will be paying data entry costs for each patient. Patients will be given specific consent for the study, and it should, I'm almost certain it's going to be on the CLRN portfolio, so your trust will get a brownie point for taking part. This is really the outcomes, but it's really very much focused on what this drug is going to do for our patients. Very quickly, one of the themes that has been coming through this meeting, I think certainly the sessions I've been, is the need to actually collect data for pharmacovigilance in a much more robust way. I think if we're all being honest with ourselves, we're not very good at filling in yellow cards for pharmacovigilance. We probably don't really know what's happening to our patients a lot of the time. And so we're working up a proposal with one of the biosimilar infliximabs that's going to come onto the market very soon. And this proposal has been submitted as part of the risk management plan to the EMA for this new biosimilar infliximab coming through. So we have developed a platform that's flexible for delivering investigator-initiated multi-center research. We're also using it for piloting potential audit topics in the future, and we have a number of different models of engagement to help move these projects forward and fund them. So, moving forward, really now looking at the biologics of the data entry. This is really important moving forward. We've heard about how important it is that we really start to get all of our patients onto this. And you've seen this slide already from Ian, just saying that these are actually fairly simple aims. Are we checking our patients properly before we start drugs? Are we checking what our drugs are doing? And are we making appropriate decisions at appropriate times in terms of the management of patients? I think this is not rocket science. This is very simple stuff, but actually incredibly important in demonstrating the quality of care that we are delivering to our patients. So how do we do this? This is the initial demographics registration page. You can see that this is not difficult information to get. You can see it's the patient's name, their date of birth, their gender, and their NHS number. So we reckon that's going to take you about between a minute and 2 minutes to enter that. The next part is a little bit about the disease, so what the diagnosis is, when that diagnosis was made. You can see the boxes in green here. These are the so-called mandatory fields for patients going up onto the registry, and so very simple and easy to fill in. Again, this is quite simple and straightforward. Moving forward into the review of starting the patient on biologics, you can see there's a button here that you press saying start a new biologic, and then you can very quickly and easily enter in the data which is going to drive your audit data. I would suggest, and I think it's been quite interesting, Pearl's approach that she described of actually doing this with the patient at the time. I think traditionally the audit people tell you, they all see this huge rise in activity in the 2 days before the closing date. But I think Pearl's description was lovely of including the patients in this process of moving the data in. And this is, if you look at what we're recording, this is stuff that we should be looking at anyway when we're starting our patients on these drugs. So are we screening them properly? Why are we putting them on the drug? When do we make this decision? And a little bit about what other medications the patient is on. So these are all things that we should be doing anyway at the time of starting the patient. These are all thought processes that we go through when we start these patients. So we think this will take maybe a minute and a half, 2 minutes to complete. When it comes to following up patients, you can see that we've entered here when the drug was started, and you can review that panel. But in terms of patient follow-up, you can see that there's a button here that you press. The other things that we need to enter are going to be the disease score here. So there's a very simple button to press, and that's a Harvey Bradshaw or appropriate score for the UC patient. So again, this is very simple to do, very easy, and in fact is what we should be doing with our patients anyway. So what do you get out of it? What do you get back? I suspect that there's a large number of Excel spreadsheets scattered around the nurses here, which reflects, see the table nurses over there sort of shaking their heads and nodding and agreeing, of Excel spreadsheets which are full of lists of patients on biologics. Really easy to maintain, aren't they? It takes a lot of time to collect that data, to keep it up to date, so it's actually usable and fit for purpose. So if you're using this tool, this biologics management system, you can simply press the button and get a list of all of your patients who are on biologics. You can then sort this list according to which drug they're on, so you drag this across to the button there, and that will be able to start to interrogate your groups of patients in a slightly different way. You're going to be able to find out when the patients have started on drugs, when they're due to have another review. All of those things are really important to actually providing a safe care, safe and high quality care for our patients. That's only part of the potential of what this system can do. Certainly I would see that biologics has been a very important part of what we're trying to do with the registry, but it's not all. And there's so many other things that we can do with this tool if you're willing to invest a little bit of time to use its full potential. This is just a mock-up of how, I think we've had a slide from Ian as well about what this might look like. Just looking at your KPI output of patients who have had a post-induction review documented on time, patients who perhaps haven't and needs to be done. you can see how you can use this in real time to drive the quality of the service that you're providing. I've spent a lot of time talking to my commissioners about biologics. We spend millions and millions of pounds on biologics. I think as a taxpayer, I'd like to know that the money that we're spending on these treatments is being used as effectively and as efficiently as it needs to be. So we're developing a commissioner report which will be able to give our commissioners an anonymised list of every patient that we have in biologics. We can demonstrate that we're nice adherent. We can demonstrate the disease activity scores at initiation and follow-up. We're picking out primary non-responders, and we're demonstrating to our commissioners that we are reviewing our patients at the appropriate time, and we're documenting the outcome of those consultations in terms of stopping patients or reassessing them with a view to stopping. I think as we said earlier or yesterday in the service development session, actually providing data for our commissioners is going to be critical to developing that trust and getting that investment in our services. We all love the appraisal process. It's part of our lives, unfortunately. And actually, it's quite difficult to collect data to put into our folders to say we're doing a good job. Something I would like us to think about in the workshop, perhaps documenting at the end, is what you would like that to look like. I think probably the biologics KPIs are important. They're an important demonstration of audit. But what else would you want to see in an appraisal report to engage in that process? I think this is potentially really quite attractive because you're collecting data in your outpatient clinic, and it's always quite difficult to get something to put into that section. So please have a think about that when you're in the workshop. The registry has always been about local benefit and using that data to develop your services and provide better care for your patients. So Mark Allen, who's recently joined the team as a data analyst, has been working really very hard to develop an Excel tool for individual sites to use. It's very simple to do. It tells me that even I could use this in 2 minutes. And what it does is that you take the Keith showed the data extract slides there, and he very quickly showed that it's very easy to generate those files, and those can simply be cut and pasted into this tool, and then you can start to generate reports such as this. This is very simple. This is just an example of what we can do. It's also a dummy data set, but you can see it's counting your patients and how many patients you've got with each diagnosis. Now, this sort of moves us into the workshop part of it. We're going to be handing out sort of copies of what this tool looks like at the moment. We would really appreciate your input in this. This is critically important because this is what is going to drive what you get out of your data. So you're going to see some tables on this, and we'd really like to get your feedback and comment on what this looks like to you and how, and if it doesn't look like something that you want to use, what would you like to use? So please spend a little time, look at the worksheets that have been handed out, and your feedback is going to be much appreciated with this. So thank you very much.